I would say it's still probably 70-30 personal connections and contacts, previous clients, existing clients, referrals from both, the amount of networking and community presence that we have. Clients don't get to complain about the results they didn't get from the work that they didn't do. And many times, like when you're advising someone, you can present some ideas and some concepts. Don't fight it. Don't think you're going to outrun it. Figure out how it can be an asset rather than a threat.
If you're running your own consulting, financial advisory, or accounting firm, and you're figuring out how to grow, hire, price, and not lose your mind in the process, you're in the right place. I'm Delmarie Salcedo. Welcome to the Consulting Engine. Today I'm sitting down with Joseph Duncan, Managing Director of Assured Consultants, Inc. It's a consulting firm specialized in providing solution-based services to small and medium businesses. Joseph, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on.
Well, glad to be here and thank you for having us.
So for those who aren't familiar with your business, what does Assured Consultants do? Who do you do it for? How did it come to exist?
Well, those are some great questions. We are a boutique consulting firm that specializes in working with entrepreneurs. We want to spend our time with founder-led businesses where we can have direct connection and impact with the founder who's basically the shot caller, someone who's in a decision-making role. Our typical business size is somewhere from startup to 5 million in sales and three employees in a mom and pop situation to probably about 100. Once they get beyond that scope, we typically find that there are other firms that are better suited to serve those needs, and we kind of stay in our lane.
Great. You guys have been in market for a number of years now. Is that correct?
Yes, we're actually about to celebrate our ninth year.
Oh,
I have two
congratulations.
partners, and we're all former bankers, so we come at this from varying backgrounds in commercial relationship management and lending, dealing with entrepreneurial businesses primarily.
So when did the firm start to feel like a real business rather than a practice? I know you mentioned you and your two partners, you got together, we had this idea, and you started working. When did it feel like a real business?
Oh, I could say when we signed the office lease, but that's a reality check for you when you made that kind of a commitment and everybody signed on the dotted line. But I'll say probably after about a year. We found our legs after about a year in business. We came at this with the idea that we all had, connections and contacts in the business community where we're based, and we would be able to leverage those contacts and referrals from those contacts to sort of build a book of business. Didn't go quite as smoothly as you might have thought or we might have hoped, but about a year in, it started to gain some traction, and we said, this thing can work.
Wonderful. And so now that it's been going for almost 9 years, how much of your new business would you say comes from you personally or from one of your partners personally versus the firm having its own presence in the market?
I would say it's still probably 70-30 personal connections and contacts, previous clients, existing clients, referrals from both, the amount of networking and community presence that we have. I was mentioning to you offline before we started, I did two speaking engagements this week. That's a busier week than normal, but I usually do 2 to 3 a month, and so do my other partners. And those are part of the engine that drives business to us. We speak to business groups, chambers of commerce. The joke that a friend of mine tells that I'll speak at the opening of an envelope, which is close to true. So we spend a lot of time in terms of that kind of in-person marketing. We also have obviously a big presence on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, those sorts of things. At some point, I'm going to get one of my children to teach me TikTok, but we're not there yet. Um, we do use AI in some of our presentations as well as some of our social media generation. But we don't get a lot of leads from people who just randomly find us on LinkedIn or Instagram. They're usually people that either know us or know somebody that knows us.
Got it. And so when you do take on one of those new clients that's found you through one of those vehicles, what do the first kind of steps look like operationally? Especially if you've got your partners and the team involved, How do you decide who does what? How's it coordinated? How do you engage with that client for the first time?
Very good question. The first step is obviously a needs assessment. We need to spend a little time with them, figure out what their goals are, what their successes and failures have been to date, so we get a real good temperature check on where they are at. And then we try to match where they're going with who's best to get them there. We do a lot of one-on-one advisement. I frankly will tell people right up front, I am not the coach for everybody. So it needs to be a fit. We try to match personalities, communication styles as much as possible. There are only three of us, so somehow we've got to figure out who's going to work with who. But typically it falls into place. Sometimes what happens is whoever was the one that was on the dais that night, everybody that was in the room wants to work with that person. Well, we don't have that kind of availability. So sometimes they want to work with me and they end up one of the partners. Sometimes they want to work with one of the partners and they end up with me. But none of this is carved in stone. We'll move them around if it's not working or if a different set of skills is better suited, we'll move them around. We also contract with people that bring skills to the table that we three don't have. So sometimes they'll end up working with one of our contract consultants as well.
And as you kind of get that client going and running, is there a period of time where there's kind of a slowdown or a bottleneck between starting the engagement and kind of delivering that first set of outcomes? Or does it all run very smoothly?
Very smoothly. Yeah, because life works like that. No, every situation is kind of its own organism. There are challenges. Um, Sometimes I like to say clients don't get to complain about the results they didn't get from the work that they didn't do. And many times, like when you're advising someone, you can present some ideas and some concepts and say, based on all that we've learned and all the time we spent together, here's what we recommend that you do. And then they proceed to not do that.
Mhm.
And then they proceed to come back and say, still having this same issue. Well, what did you do with what we talked about? Well, I didn't really do that. Okay. Well, let's try it this time. Because if you try it my way and it doesn't work, then I can try something else. If you don't try what we recommended to you, then we don't know whether that's going to work or not. So we can't fix it until we know whether it's broken.
Got it. So it seems like you spend a lot of time in the advisory piece, the human part of going back and forth and trying to influence change.
That is the whole game right there.
Hmm. You also mentioned that as you take on clients, you do your needs assessment. Depending on what they actually need, you kind of align them to one of your partners, someone else on the team. Um, how do you guys divide up your specialties? Like if you had to kind of put a box around your specialty versus that of your partners, what does that look like?
Hmm, very good. I'm more the financial access to capital kind of person. I was a lender. I sat on loan committees. I know that process pretty well. One of my partners is more of a marketing oriented person. So, if that need is the big thing. And then we have someone that can help with operational issues. Many times our clients are failing to succeed because they don't have the systems and standards in place to accomplish what they're hoping to accomplish, and they really need some operational consulting. And sometimes it's all of the above. So that's why I say you may work with one person on one particular aspect, and then we'll bring in other people to help with the other aspects. And sometimes it's none of the above. They need help with legal issues. They may need help with trademark and copyright issues. They may need help with, uh, you know, client acquisition strategies and so forth. So we'll in our needs assessment sort of suss out as much as we can about what's going to be necessary to help them accomplish what they're hoping to accomplish and then get them in the right place.
Got it. And so it sounds like you guys measure success with your clients in terms of getting them to that place. How do you think about measuring success for the business?
Well, survival would be one, which we've been able to do for 9 years, continuing to be profitable and being able to support the business, uh, pay what we need to pay, have some money left over at the end of the day. That's pretty much what we would deem successful. But on a more touchy-feely level, we do keep close tabs on whether the people that we're working with succeed, because that's what's going to really generate future business for us. Much like anything else, no one recommends you to someone who wasn't able to help them. So being able to see them succeed and have stories that we can tell about how, you know, someone was able to get their business started or get it to the next level or scale or open a new location or hire 10 employees or whatever the case may be. A lot of the time we measure success by how successful we can make other people.
Got it. And so, as you think about growth and profitability, are there any specific projects, initiatives, big plays that you guys are thinking through and you want to undertake to get to those growth goals? Or it's really just about P times Q and getting client volume?
It's more the second. We're both late, we're all three late career stage people. So we're not trying to build this into a, $10 million a year billing enterprise so we can sell it to somebody. That's not the goal. The goal is for us to continue to have something to do that we enjoy doing and have some success doing and continue to sustain the business.
Got it. I mean, it sounds like you've been very successful with this approach. And, as with any business, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. So I'm curious, what are the kind of things that are taking up headspace with you right now that are keeping you up at night about running the business?
The world is changing very rapidly. One of the things, I could go in so many directions on this, but AI is coming in. What is that going to mean for us? What is that going to mean for our clients? The assumptions for business change almost daily these days. Are there tariffs on my goods and services that I'm importing? Are there not tariffs? There were tariffs. Now they're not tariffs. There's money that I spent. Am I going to get that money back? That's another one. The SBA, which is a big player in the marketplace that we deal with, just changed their lending guidelines again. They tightened them. It's going to make it harder for our clients, such as the people that we work with, to access capital in some quarters. What is our strategy for that? Are there other alternatives to SBA lending that we can look at that will accomplish the same things? So there's never a dull moment. There's always something new, something to learn, something to strategize around. And also, the next client through the door may bring a unique set of circumstances and problems that we've never faced before. So we're going to have to figure that one out too.
Got it. So you mentioned the SBA contracts and the changing and the lending requirements. How does that impact delivery for your clients, like how you work with them, and why does that become a challenge for your business?
A couple of different ways. For one, just to be totally transparent, we have to ask another question that we didn't usually ask. One of the things that changed was all of the principals within a business are going to need to be natural born US citizens, not permanent residents, not green card holders. That was never a question that we felt compelled to ask our clients as we were preparing them to, you know, do a loan application and put their package together. So in our initial approach, we need to figure out what that qualification standard is going to mean for that business owner and for that client. As you know, we work in Southern California. Southern California is a melting pot. There are people here, and we have clients that are from all over the world, many of whom have become naturalized citizens, but now find that they're more restricted than they were previously. So we got this in March, and we do not have the answers yet, to be completely transparent. We're trying to figure that out. But there are other resources, so that's a part of it too. We spend a lot of time with bankers, being that we're all bankers. We know bankers everywhere, so we need to find out, what banks have developed strategies and are in position to help those clients that are now not going to be able to qualify for the type lending. There are other alternatives. We need to figure out what some of those are and get people positioned to take advantage of that.
So you mentioned a couple of things, challenges when it comes to client delivery, whether it's the SBA contracts or navigating AI. I'm curious about the administrative aspect of the business, whether it's keeping the sales pipeline full or working through some of the administrative things on the back end.
I would say that our is a huge challenge, but any business, you deliver the work and then you want to get paid. We don't have a huge collection issue. Most of our clients are very good about that. We require a pretty sizable deposit up front, so we're not overextended in that way. But somebody's got to keep track. We do have a full-time admin who does most of that. I'm the managing partner, so I work pretty closely with that person to make sure that, you know, work delivered, money comes in, the lights stay on, the bills get paid, the bank accounts balance. We have a CPA who works with us who keeps track of our expenses and that sort of thing and helps us plan and ensure that we don't end up with surprises. So in running any business, as we teach our clients, that's a big part of it. You need to know what not only what you have outstanding, but what you can expect to have come in the future. So we're always looking at what we're projecting to do for example, the rest of this quarter. We're already starting to look at third quarter. What types of things are going to be ongoing? What kind of new business do we need to continue to sustain what we're trying to do? Where are we going to get that from? It never goes away. But that's fun. That's what keeps me
Mm-hmm.
energized.
Yep, absolutely. And so, as you think about all this time that you dedicate to the business and all the things that you do, if you were able to get back 10 extra hours a week by stopping some activity, what would you stop doing? Where do you feel like your time is most drained?
Interesting. What would I not want to do?
You could
I
give it
would
to
not
someone
want to,
else.
if I could give it to someone else, I would like someone else to do the government reporting that we have to do because we do a lot of work with the SBA and the SBDC program. And if I could give it to someone else, would do a lot of that tracking and reporting. Unfortunately, that doesn't work very well. So probably not going to be able to do that, but those 10 hours would be great.
And is that because there's so much nuance involved in the government reporting, or because there's a lot of kind of tacit knowledge? Why is it challenging?
Both those things are true. There's a nuance in being able to communicate what's happening with a particular client in the way that they want to see it. And then there are standards and so forth. And to hand that off to someone who wasn't in the meeting and say, here, take my notes and try to make this make sense for them is probably doable, but I guess I'm not that great at delegating that task. I feel better, and I think my partners would agree because they do it as well. I think we all feel better when the person who was actually in the meeting and has the most knowledge of what's going on in the situation actually does the reporting.
Do you think your partners would have um, the same comment? Like if they could give away 10 hours, it would also be SBA loan and government reporting, or is there something else you think that, they would focus on?
I don't know. That's very interesting. I'll have to ask them that.
Okay,
I know what we complain about, and the
sure.
complaints are all the same, but I don't know if there might be something else. It might be the 10 hours they have to spend talking to me. If I could get rid of him, my life would be better. So I don't know if they would speak candidly. They might say, yeah, everything's good if I could, get him to leave me alone. I don't know.
Well, let's circle back a little bit. You said something interesting around helping your clients navigate AI and kind of what is this wave and having that kind of be on your mind. I'm curious to hear about how AI is affecting your business from a client standpoint. So, clients having AI or seeking AI tools from an assured consultant standpoint, if you guys are using AI to deliver or within the business to help run the business. And then AI personally, are you using things normally or, within your personal day and kind of what's that look like for you?
AI is going to change things for all of us, I think, eventually. We are learning it. We're kind of in a position where we're maybe two chapters ahead in the book of where our clients are. So we have to continue to keep that. We use it internally for a lot of tasks. And I think we're all at the point where you're using AI even when you don't realize you're using AI. When I write an email, I'm using AI, even though I wouldn't consider that an AI task because in the email system that we use internally, it's editing and making suggestions about your content of an email. So that's an AI task right there. What we're trying to stress to our clients is don't don't think you're going to outrun it. Figure out how it can be an asset rather than a threat, because it is probably here to stay, much as the internet when it first came in. And I confess I'm old enough to remember working before there was an internet. And when the internet first came in, it seemed like the most revolutionary thing ever. Now, every you have a 9-year-old, your 9-year-old probably knows how to navigate the internet as well as we do,
Yep.
because they grew up with it. We didn't grow up with it. You may have. You're probably much younger than I.
I remember when the
But
internet
I
came
didn't
on
grow
the
up with the
scene.
internet. Yes,
Addictive.
it was extremely disruptive. And I think AI is going to be disruptive in much the same way. But those who figure out early on how to best use it as an asset will be the most successful. So we stress A, don't fight it, recognize it, learn it. We have realized that we're not in a position to be the subject matter experts on that. So we have someone that we contract with. And when that is needed, we bring that in to work both internally for us so that we're utilizing it to the best of its ability, but also as clients who have needs in that area as well. I can tell you I did 2 presentations this week and used AI to generate the content for both of them. Much as with anything, you have to have final say. AI is going to spit, you tell AI what you want to talk about, it's going to spit out some talking points. And then you need to make those sound like you. You need to check them for accuracy because sometimes it is garbage in and garbage out. And you also need to be able to make sure that you're delivering it in a way that's personable and it doesn't sound like it came from a machine. So it is something that we use. It is something that we're going to use more. We learn a little bit about it almost every day, and we stress that to clients as well. Make it an asset and not a threat, because much as we all might wish, it's not going away. I just
Do you
hope it
have
doesn't
any?
take my job.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It's good for everyone. Do you have any go-to tools, things that you use a lot that you feel like are, your favorites? And conversely, are there any that you're interested in and kind of looking into?
I learn that there are new ones all the time. I use Chat GPT because I started with Chat GPT and I kind of know how it works. And as our consultant that we work with said, you have now finally trained Chat GPT to speak in your voice. So I'm much solid with that one. I use that one quite frequently. There's another one called Beautiful AI, which develops PowerPoint slides and the like. And we use that sometimes for presentations. There are probably 15 others that I've heard the names and don't know how they work. So I haven't gotten that far yet. That's why we need a subject matter expert, and we were happy to find her.
That's wonderful. So as you look forward into the next 3 years and think about Assured Consultants and kind of where you'd like it to be, what's different about how it might operate in 3 years versus how it operates today?
That's an excellent question as well. This world is so unpredictable. I know that I can see 3 years out. I would like to believe that we will be in much the same space. We would probably want to add another consultant or two so that some of us can pull back a little bit on the one-on coaching. So I would think, as we think about scaling, we think about bringing on people of like mind and similar background who could replicate some of what we do and allow us to step back a little bit, particularly in my role. When we started this, I didn't want to manage people, but I don't believe that's going to work forever. So at some point, we're going to need to bring on some other people. And frankly, I'd like to bring on people who are maybe in a different stage in their career where we could continue to build this thing and then do an employee buyout and not step back entirely because I don't think I ever want to retire again. That's another story. But step back somewhat from as much of the community involvement and some of the basic marketing that I do. So that would be the next 3 years. We're going to continue to serve clients. We're going to continue to make inroads in the local business community. That goes without saying. But what we'd also like to do is grow internally so that we can spread that over possibly some other hands and potentially develop some people to take our place.
And, given that you've been in business for a while and Assured Consults has been there for almost 9 years, as you look back on your time, um, is there something you think that people kind of get wrong about running a firm at your stage, or something that you wish you had known or someone had told you?
Oh, so many. One of the things we tell clients is we're entrepreneurs who coach entrepreneurs. So we made a lot of the mistakes that we want to keep them from making. I can think of a little anecdote. For some reason, none of us had ever had a business of our own. We'd always worked for major corporations, and those are typically incorporated in other places. They're not based in California. So we thought we should be a Delaware corporation. So we did all the things you do to set up this Delaware corporation, and then got ready to start doing business and recognized that even though you're a Delaware corporation, there are requirements and restrictions that California puts on you that you have to meet. And it probably would make more sense to just be a California corporation from the very beginning. So about 9 months in, we became a California corporation and unwound the Delaware corporation. So I meet people all the time that say they want to incorporate in some other state because they've heard that the costs are lower or whatever the case may be. And I tell them the story. I said, yeah, you don't want to do that. We did that, so you don't have to do that. Let me tell you why that doesn't work. Um, it for most people, unless you're a or you're a concern like that, I know a Walmart, and you're going to be in 50 states. For most people, it makes the most sense to be incorporated and established where you live and where you want to do business. And so that would be one for sure. That was very early on. We learned that lesson. Um, we knew that we needed good financial controls and systems in place. And we were fortunate enough that we all had connections with CPAs, that we did a process. And we've actually had the same CPA for all of our 9 years, but that took some doing as well. We had to, kind of all resolve on the idea of who that person should be. That is something we stress to clients too. Even as a startup, you don't necessarily need to have a CPA on retainer, but you need one that'll take your phone call. You need somebody besides someone to do your taxes when March rolls around. Um, you need someone that you can talk to throughout the year that has an idea of what you do, what your goals are, where your money comes from, where it goes to, what your cost bases are, what you hope your margins can be, and can help you track all of those things so that you're set up for financial success. So those would be a couple of things I would recommend to anyone starting anything. And certainly if you're starting a consulting firm, don't do what we do now.
Well, thank you so much for those words of wisdom, Joseph. And like I like to say, time flies when we're having fun. So I appreciate you being here and sharing your insights for the audience. Before we leave, where can people find you and learn more about Assured Consultants if something today you said resonated?
We are pretty much everywhere. We're assuredconsults.com, and we're at Assured Consults across all social media. We're also on LinkedIn at Assured Consults, not consultants, but consults. And they can find us in any of those places. We'd
Well, thank
love
you
to
so
love to
much for
chat
pulling
with
that
them
out.
and love to do this. And thank you for having me.
All right. Well, as for our audience, if you got something useful about today's episode, make sure to like it and share it with someone who's in the middle of building their own firm. Until next time, this is a wrap of the Consultant Agent Podcast. I'm Del Marie Salcedo. See you next episode.